On this episode of Street Rant Garage, it's part 5 of the 1968 VW camper build. We're getting the engine back in and getting it running again. Well, welcome back to episode number 5 of the 1968 Volkswagen bus camper revival. Starting where we picked up off, where we left off last time, and yeah, we had a problem with the charging system. So this right here is the 12-volt generator. I have taken it all apart, and if you look here, yeah, there you go, you can see that the armature is quite rusty in spots. So from about there, about halfway around, is all rust, and this is right in this area is just like one clean spot. So that's why we were just sort of hit and miss on that one. So yeah, if we look down inside of there, it's pretty much the same there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply take this little brush and clean it up real good, stick everything back together, and we'll test it again and see if it works. Alright, that is all clean, wire brushed down, sprayed it out with some carbon choke cleaner, sprayed the magnets down. Yeah, that's pretty much it. These are, complicated pieces of engineering. So I think we should throw this all back together and give it a spin and see if we have any power. Have to repolarize it again though. Okay, well, everything's cleaned up, back in order. Got it wired up. All I have to do is connect the positive to the DF and see if this thing spins. It wasn't spinning very good at all last time, so hopefully this will work. Here we go. It's a bit noisy, but it's working. That magnet seems to be dragging more than it should. Doing the same on the other side. A little bit. Hopefully that'll wear in as I clean that surface. Yeah, I think it'll wear in. I wire brushed that copper surface and roughed it up a little bit, so those magnets are probably going to wear back into that groove. But that is definitely working way better than it was before. Yeah. I'm going to have to go ahead and put this all back together and see if it works. Okay, so all cleaned up, all put back together. Now all that we have to do is test it. We got it hooked up to the jump pack, and the jump pack is off, but it will read the voltage coming from any battery or alternator that we have it hooked up to. So we're going to use this as our ohm meter or voltmeter. Let's give it a spin and see if our hard work paid off. There we go. Just a slow release. There she goes. Yeah. Got up to what, 12.6 at the most, spinning it with a drill, so the engine will spin it quite a bit faster than that, so we ought to be right about where we need to. Well, there we go. Problem solved. All it took was a little cleaning and some repolarization, if that is even a word, and we are good to put it all back together without spending any money, I might add. So this is what we got going on. I was just painting on the block, and I am just using this sort of maroonish color and just hitting these valve covers and the block here a little bit. Already did that, but nothing fancy. I painted the tins here black, and the shroud that goes over top of the oil cooler, and that's all black, so nothing fancy, just a quick spray just to give it a little bit of color, no big deal. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put all this back together, put the generator on and the shroud that goes on that, and it's about time to start getting things buttoned up so we can get it back in the bus. Well, it's time to start reassembling the engine here. These right here are gaskets for the manifolds. The manifold is a 3-piece section, so you got 2 manifolds that go on either side of the engine, and this long tube that goes right there in the middle. So it's a little bit unique on the Volkswagen application. We've got these are the gaskets that go underneath of the manifold, and they're a crush style, so these really should only be used once. So we got a couple new gaskets we're going to throw in here, like so, and then the intake just goes on top of that and gets bolted down, and then we will be using those new rubber gaskets to go keep these guys together, like so. The little rubber gasket goes right there, and yeah, if you have a bad gasket like we did before, it's all cracked up, and you can see how loose that is. You get a lot of airflow going through there, and it really messes up things. Actually, that goes this way. I was trying to put it on the wrong way. So yeah, that sets up like there. I'm going to go ahead and assemble this. I went to Harbor Freight and got some of these U-clips to help hold these tins together. Somebody had wire tied some of this stuff together, which, you know, hey, it worked. You know, I probably would do the same, but I just happened to see these at Harbor Freight and picked them up. It's like, well, might as well do it the semi-right way. Yeah, we got a couple of the gaskets we need to throw on there, and we will be getting this back in the bus pretty soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap all this up, so the next time you see it, it should be assembled and ready to be put back into the bus. Go and change the spark plugs. Got to change the spark plugs, put the new spark plug wires on, all that good stuff. So alright, everything is back together again, except for the carburetor, which I will put on lastly after I get it in there. I don't want anything to happen to it. The carburetor sticks up a little bit, and don't want it to get damaged, since it is like the only new thing that we are putting on this engine besides the seals, gaskets. But let's have a look and see what we got done over here. So yeah, we put in these new seals on the intake manifold. The ones down here are new. The ones back there underneath the clutch, pressure plate and everything, flywheel, that's all new. I just cleaned some of this stuff up a little bit, no big deal. Painted the tins and the bracing here, so everything is good to go. We put the new spark plug wires on, the new spark plugs, so that should pretty much do it there. And these were the old seals that were in the intake manifold, so definitely needed to be replaced. All that we really have to do is get this rolled around to the back of the bus and get her put in. So it's pretty straightforward. I am just going to use my jack here, jack the engine up, and shove it right on in there. I did make it a little bit easier by removing the back bumper from the bus. Yep. So let's jack this sucker up and see if we can slide it into place. If all goes well, it should just boop, push right in. There she goes. Alright. I should have brought some bolts with me. Stay there. Stay there. Okay, she's sliding into place. That was easy. Well, kind of easy. You just need to grab the bolts and put them in the bell housing and we'll be good to go. Oh, and the mounts there. Okay, it's a bit dark under here, but right here is a stud that's located on the engine block that slips through the transmission. So there's two on the bottom and then there's two bolts that go through on the top. This one only had 3 bolts in it, 2 at the bottom and 1 on this side upper. The one on the driver's side upper is always a little bit hard to get to, and yeah, you can tell when people have swapped the motor and the engine because that upper bolt is oftentimes missing. I mean, I've left quite a few of them out myself, and I've also put quite a few of them back in that were not there. It just takes a little time and a little patience to get squeezed up in there, but it can be done. So I put both of these bottoms in. I'm just going to snug them up a little bit, and the engine will be secured to the block, to the transmission, and we can put in the cross member and it'll basically be bolted in. I mean, how easy is that? Now we just need to jack it up until that meets here. This goes under, then through there, and bolts down, and then it'll be secure in the front. Okay, got the mounts in and the engine bolted in, so it's sitting in there all by itself now, nice and sturdy. Got to put the carburetor on and wire it up, put the starter on, and it should be ready to start. So it's getting late, so let's go to the next day. Okay, next day, and it's time to put the starter on. Of course, it's a lot hotter today than it was yesterday, so that's lovely. But I'm gonna slip in here and get this starter installed. One of the bolts that hold it all together, the engine to the transmission, also goes through the starter, so we need that, and see about getting that other one on the other side. Then we'll be completely bolted in and ready to put the carburetor on and wire it up and see if she'll fire back up again. Okay, most of the wiring is in, the starter is in. I went ahead and ran the throttle cable and a couple other little things underneath. I need to change the oil. I need to change the oil in this. And it's a little bit different on a Volkswagen, air-cooled Volkswagen, than it is on your traditional normal cars. If you can see here, this is the drain plug right here. Air-cooled doesn't have an oil filter, a traditional oil filter per se, but there's actually a screen that's inside of here. So you can do this one or two ways. You can drop this plug and oil just drops out, or you can take all these little nuts out, pull this whole cartridge out, and there's a screen inside that you clean up real good. So since it's been forever, we're going to go ahead and drop that. Plus there's also small copper washers that go on all of these bolts, and this one has a little bit of a drip, so we need to replace all of those little copper washers. Plus there's gaskets. There's two gaskets that go in between here. So all of that. A Volkswagen is a lot like a Harley Davidson. It leaks oil. Doesn't matter what you do, it's going to leak oil. I mean, the block is, you see these bolts, the block is a two-piece block. So there's a sealant that goes all the way around the engine. So that leaks. The oil pump is right behind here, and there's a plate behind here, and you know, that leaks a lot. So many gaskets, so many potential leaks. Oh, and the push rods, can you see, these are push rod tubes, and there's gaskets on each end of those. So the push rod actually goes through from the head here to the block here, sort of external. And yeah, it's oil fed through this tube, and two seals on each end, more room for leaks. Plus this is a valve cover, and you know, we're gonna flip these down and remove this valve cover and change those gaskets inside of there too, because they're leaking a little bit as well. So we got a few leaks that we're gonna take care of. We got a few seeps and minor leaks that we're not gonna take care of, because hopefully they're gonna go away. But let's do this real quick. Okay, I got my oil pan underneath here. It's not an oil pan, it's just a bowl, because my oil pan has a leak in it. Like everything else, 10 millimeters, there goes one of the little copper washers there. So pull these all off. Oops. Well, that whole stud came out of that one. The nut's supposed to come off, but the whole stud came out. And now the oil's just pouring out. A little premature. Let's get this last one out of here. Oh, I'm making a mess. Get out of there. Is that all of them? Yeah, I think that's all of them. Ooh, there she goes. And it's all down my arm and my armpit. Yep. Just gotta pry this filter down carefully with a screwdriver. Just go around it little by little here. It's just a thin piece of aluminum. And just pry it loose. There's gaskets. Come on. Oh, this is a pain in the butt. Especially when they've been in there forever. There she goes. Yep, it's pretty gunked up. I mean, I've seen worse, but it's got a good amount of goo inside of it. And left the gasket, the upper gasket in there, so hopefully that's not stuck. It doesn't seem to be. Get that guy out of there. not the greatest things to change oil on. I mean, it's not awful, but more modern cars are definitely easier. The gasket, it's got a gasket there, and then it has another one on the other side here on the bottom of this, top of it, whichever one you want to call it. Okay, well, I'm gonna let that drain out real good. Come back and clean up this surface and clean up the screen, and we'll put new gaskets on it and throw it all back together. So I just hit all this with the wire brush, and I took the drain plug out, and it doesn't have the copper gasket. Copper, where's it at? Can you see it? Didn't have that copper washer on there. That is the reason that it was leaking from there. So we're gonna go ahead and put this kit on it. You can buy the kit. Some kits come with just the gaskets. The other kits come with all of the copper gaskets that go with it. That's the one that you want, because you want to replace these every single time, because if you don't, they will leak. And definitely make sure you got it on the drain plug. Alright, well, let's go throw this all back together, add some oil, and then it'll be time for some carburetor work. And there you have it. Everything's back up in where it belongs. It's quick, it's easy, and that should solve our leak from this department. Time to add a little oil. I like to use 20W50. I'm not really into brands. This is just STP, Valvoline, Pennzoil, whatever. Doesn't matter to me, but this is a flat tappet cam, and it would be a good idea to put some zinc in it. I forgot to get some zinc, so we'll do that later, but we'll go ahead and throw a couple quarts in here, get her all filled up, get the carburetor on, and hopefully we can get her fired up. It's supposed to rain pretty soon. I would like to get this off the jack stand and fire it up and check for that oil leak, or hopefully lack thereof an oil leak, before it starts raining. I would like to also get it covered up before it rains, because it leaks, and I got a bunch of cushions inside that I don't want to get wet. So I guess we better get on it. Well, just put in a couple quarts of oil. It's 2.5 quarts, I believe. So I just put in 2 quarts. It's showing a little bit low on the stick, so I'm gonna put in this other 1/2 quart here, and that should top her off. It's a little bit strange only putting 2.5 quarts of oil in an engine. The first time I ever changed engines, first time I ever changed oil on a Volkswagen, I figured it was a 4-cylinder, so it probably takes 4 quarts of oil. Well, needless to say, it was coming out all over the place, and I could not figure out why. And that was before the internet, so I had to figure that one out on my own. Only takes 2.5 quarts. Now it's time for, as the French would say, the pièce de la résistance. That is French for the good stuff. One cheap Chinese built carburetor with no name on it at all. Even some of the generic ones have some sort of name on it. The good ones say Solex 34 pick 3 or 1 or 2 or whatever. A 34 pick 3 is what should really be on here, a Solex. But I mean, it looks visually appealing, except minus the words. It's a dead giveaway. But besides that, it's a good looking carburetor. There's no mounting studs. Do we have mounting? Yeah, we have mounting studs. Never mind. So we got mounting studs. We got base plate gasket. Everything we need. It even comes with a cheapy fuel filter, which just throw those away. I mean, even you know, gasket, throw that away too. We got better gasket than that. All right, now to install the carburetor. Right in there, like that. Kind of like that. Got some things in the way. Yep. That looks pretty good. I'm just gonna hook up that in the way. Make sure everything's clear. Yep, all the linkage clear. It's really close on the generator and the carburetor linkage, so everything is clearing, but just barely. I'm gonna hook up the fuel lines and a couple wires that go to the fuel cutoff. There's a fuel cutoff switch right here, and the GoPro just went dead and I had to go change the battery. I'm not a fan of GoPro just shutting off like that. It doesn't give you any warning before it, you know, a low battery warning or anything. It's just like beep, dead. That's it. Right in the middle of while you're talking. Now I forgot what I was talking about. So I'm gonna hook up this throttle cable, and I think that's the last thing, because I just, before I went and got the battery, I went and hooked up the electronics for the choke and the shut off. So we got that done, and I'm just hooking up the throttle cable now, making sure it's nice and tight but not too tight, and hooked up the fuel line. Huh, is that it? It looks like it. So I'm gonna go grab a battery, toss that in there, give it some cranks, and see if she fires back up. The only thing I'm worried about is I didn't look at the firing order to make sure that whoever put this distributor in made sure this was number one. This should be number one, but sometimes, you know, you get it off and number one's back or up too high or whatever. So hopefully number one is where it's supposed to be, and we're gonna find that out real quick. So yep, let me go get the cranking on this. You guys watch it back here and I'll crank on it. It's getting dark, the wind is picking up, and the storm's coming. Don't have long now. Wired up a few things. Hopefully this will do it and she'll start up. If not, we might be waiting until the storm passes or until tomorrow. Now let's give it a try again. Hope this works. Not working yet, and the throttle cable. I forgot to tighten down the throttle cable, and it slipped out. So getting in a rush. Okay, I'm gonna toss a little gas down the old car. Just don't want to start a fire in case that firing order is off. I don't want it backfiring and flaming up on me. Let's give it a try again. still getting nothing. Did I put a distributor cap? Oh, look what I did. Look, what's missing right here. Right there. What's missing? Yeah. I'm dumb. Yep. I forgot why I did that, but I pulled the rotor button out. Oh, I pulled the distributor apart because I was going to power wash it. I pulled the distributor cap off and then I put it back on because I didn't want any water getting in to the distributor. So I put the cap back on and I didn't put the rotor button in. Yeah, be right back. Okay, here we go again. Hopefully we're done with the stupid mistakes. Still not starting. Why? Why? So I don't have a very strong spark at the points, so maybe that's the issue. I didn't put any new ones in, I just sort of sanded them down, so maybe some moisture got in there when I power washed it. So let's sand those again and see if we can get a little bit better spark. Points sanded. Let's try it again. I was making some sort of noise, and I do not know where it's coming from. What is that noise? It almost sounds like some of the tin work. It's either the generator, we didn't get something right, or maybe it's this tin work right here when I was dragging it around, or maybe the engine. See, I don't have this one bolt in all the way. I backed it out and forgot about it. Maybe that made the engine shift down just a little bit and push this tin up. Now maybe it's riding up against that. I think maybe that's it. I'm gonna get a jack and jack this engine back up, get that bolt back in where it belongs. I think the engine just dipped down a little bit. Hopefully it's not our generator. I don't want to take that back apart. Let's see if the noise goes away. Oh, I felt rain. Okay, so obviously that was a problem. I didn't get the bolt all the way in there that goes in the cross member that goes into the engine, and it tilted down and started scraping that tin on the back of the pulley right there. So yeah, yay for that. It's still running a little funky, but hopefully I can adjust that carburetor up a little bit and get it smoothed out. And yeah, I'd say we did pretty good. Got it back in there and she's running. Actually, it's running kind of better than what it was before. At least it's idling most of it. Turn that idle screw up a little bit, maybe a little bit more on the fuel mixture, and it is just trying to rain on us too. So keep going. You're gonna die. That is a low idle. What is that, like 300 RPM? It's gonna die. Okay. Oh, there it goes. And here comes the rain. Okay, got the rear mount back in and tight this time, and it's still wanting to rain on us. So this is one last try to make sure everything is good. And yeah, I wanted to take it out for a test drive, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. Definitely don't want to break down in the pouring rain. There's thunderstorms coming in, and it's starting to come down pretty decent right now, so we got to wrap things up here. Well, let's go up here and give her one last try. Hopefully everything goes well. There she is. I got a bunch of cushions in the back that we got out of an RV. I'll explain all that to you next time. But yeah, look at the leak. You can see the leaks down, and I don't know if you can see that, but it is just coming in here. And here comes the rain. Yay. All right, look back here. Everything's good, and actually it's starting to run a little bit better. I got the battery charger on it, so probably the extra voltage is helping it out there. Let's give it a couple more revs. Oh yeah, that sounds good. Way more gooder. Let's shut that down. All right. Okay, well, that sounds a lot better. Definitely a lot better. Now I got to get this cleaned up. I mean, it's really starting to come down right now. But next time we'll get the bumper on. We'll get the bumper on and get it down on the ground, and maybe take it around and get that tail light in too. See if she'll make a couple rounds. Okay, well, now it's the next morning, and it did stop raining last night. Everything dried up, and now this morning it's starting to sprinkle again. So we need to get this bumper and cowling put back on in order to drop the bus down and give it a proper test drive. So we're gonna have to make some more rush decisions and hope we don't make any mistakes like we did yesterday. Get this put back together, get it dropped down, and take it out for a test drive. Okay, got all the parts here. Got the cowling, the bumper, got some extra parts, extra bolts. Let's go ahead and throw this thing back together again. Alright, got the pan in, and I could not find any bolts for here, but I was able to put 4 in there using our good old Harbor Freight's U-clip. These are pretty good. I recommend having some of those around because you're always missing those. But this is gonna rattle around a little bit, but it's gonna be noisy enough we won't be able to hear it inside. So let's put this bumper on, and we should be about ready to let it off the jack. All right, just wrapped up the bumper install, and there's 3 bolts in the bumper because one of them is broken off. So yeah, we really need a new bumper, a new valance here, probably a new muffler. But that'll probably be for the next guy or girl that owns this bus. Let's get it down and see if it rolls down. Okay, we're all ready. Jack stands out, and here she comes down. Hope it doesn't roll over me. I blocked the wheels. It should be okay. Looks good. She's back on the ground. Let's fire her up and see what happens. slide there a bit coming out of the driveway. Still a little bit of adjustment to do on the carburetor. But let's take it around the neighborhood and see if she goes. And see if she stops. Actually, it stops a lot better than it did before. I mean, it really had nothing before. Got to hunt for first gear though. There it goes. A little bit of adjustment there. First gear, second gear, third gear. That's probably all we're going to get in this neighborhood. We can check fourth gear. Oops, I dropped you. Fourth gear. Fourth gear works. Brakes, only one pump needed there, so that's definitely an improvement. Having to hunt for first gear there a little bit though. I mean, it's really and I killed it. And now she doesn't want to start. Lovely. Now what happened? What happened? It's not on fire. So she should go. Sure didn't make it far, did we? This, it goes up there. So it just fell out. That was our reason. Oh, Volkswagens. Okay, now let's just hope we have enough battery left to start this again. Barely. I don't know if the alternator's charging. I didn't check that. I should have checked that. Would have been a good idea. But we're just going to stay in the neighborhood, so it's all good. If we break down again, we'll just walk back home and get some tools. It is difficult to keep a good Volkswagen down. It is also very difficult to keep a good Volkswagen running. But we're back, and she's doing pretty good for the next 1,000 feet. I don't have any wiper blades, and it's now ringing. And yeah. That's okay. Any day in a Volkswagen is a lovely day. Third gear. Yeah, we don't need third gear. Second gear is good. Oh, that was fourth gear. Oh, that was reverse. Oh, the gears are so hard to find. There she goes. Back in the second gear. Apparently, do we have a shifter gate on this? I don't know on the bus. On the Volkswagen we have a sort of a shifter plate. And I'm sure this one has a shifter plate on it as well that we are going to have to adjust. And brakes again. Oh yeah, fair brakes. Only have to pump it once. Shift. Once you figure out where to shift, it's not so bad. I'm sure I can get used to it. Yeah, see, right in the second gear. See if we can make it in the first gear. Nope, didn't make it in the first gear. Where's first gear? Not there either. Where's first gear? First gear? Is that you? Yeah, I think that's first gear. Well, I'm just going to get it back in the driveway here, and we'll call that a successful test drive. Perfect. Now the true test. Does it start back up again? No, probably because we still don't have an alternator. Well, no big deal. Or the battery is just that bad. I don't know where that battery came from. Anyway, we'll tackle that on the next episode. All right, well, I would call that a successful test drive. We got it running again. We got the engine put back in. We got the oil leak stopped. It's not leaking any more oil. So yeah, it's running. It's idling kinda a little bit more on those air-fuel mixture screws, and we should have it dialed in. Yeah, we're gonna have to take a break from this for a couple of weeks because we have roadkill nights coming up, and we have to get Goose the Roadkill Maverick ready for that event. So it's going to be a couple of weeks before the next episode on this van bus, and we'll try maybe to tackle the interior. We need to get this campable. So that should do it, and that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Street Ride Garage. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time.